Welcome to video number 23, everybody, and if you're new to the channel, I am your host, Pop Smoke, and as always behind the camera, we have Doja Cat. And,
honey,
yeah.
Who are these people? What the hell are you talking about?
All right, hey, no reason to yell, Doja Cat. Honey, just work with me. 12% of our audience is between the ages of 18 and 24, so I'm just trying to relate with them a little bit. Just go with me. Hey, quick shout out to Bad Bunny, my boy, B Squared. You know I feel you out there. So 2 videos ago, I made you guys a promise, and I said, hey, if you gave that video, for every like you had given that video, I was going to donate $1 for every like up to 1,000 likes to USARK. Well, the video got like 2,900 views, and the video, unfortunately, it only got 600 likes. I was hoping for 1,000, but anyway, I just want to show you guys proof that I did make a donation to USARK. For 600 likes. Again, I was hoping that it was going to be 1,000, so we were 400 likes short. And I don't want to point fingers at any particular group, but I think we all know it was the Chondros breeders who didn't like the video. Hey, I also wanted to mention, for those of you who have seen my last video, I talked a lot about that Boelens python drawing to benefit USARK Florida. Well, just since mentioning that drawing between my videos and my Facebook page and my Instagram account, in the past 3 weeks, we've raised $28,000 for USARK Florida with that drawing. There's still plenty of time to get involved with that. I'm going to put a link on the bottom of this video if you want to take a chance to win a pair of 1.1 Boelens pythons. What I wanted to mention too is that I am going to personally make a donation to win the pair, but but I'm not going to take the prize if I ever won it, because I know you people out there, if I ever won, you'd be like, oh, the fix was in, Pop Smoke won the Boelens python. So I am going to make a donation to it, but I am not going to take those animals if I were to win. So in today's video, first off, you guys probably noticed there's no cages behind me with my big Amazon Basin emeralds in there. We moved these cages out of this room. They're now in Snake Room 2.0. I'm going to show you those cages in a second. And we have, like, I think 16 36-inch arboreal enclosures coming to this room. So I'm going to keep you guys involved with the whole process. They're going to be coming over the next few months. It's a lot of work I have ahead of me, but I'm excited to show you guys. But look, the good news is there's now so much more room for activities in here. I love it. It's a Step Brothers reference.
And here's the thing, it'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activities.
Anyway, what else do we have in this video today? Getting babies to feed that are reluctant feeders. So I'm going to show you guys really quickly exactly how to get babies to feed when they're giving you a difficult time in doing so. We're going to get into setting up baby arboreals, baby green tree pythons, and baby emerald tree boas, and we're just going to get into a bunch of random stuff. So why don't we just jump into today's video. I love showing you guys real-time examples when, like in this case, I have some baby carpet pythons that weren't feeding. These were actually sent to me by a friend who was just having a difficult time. There were 4 total. That they were born a few months back. They had no luck in getting them feeding. They were runners, and literally within 1 week, I have the 3 of the 4 that feeding really well at this point. And that last one, it's got a little bit of a neuro thing going on with it. So I'm not sure, it might be more than just to it than just not feeding. There might be something up with the animal. But in any event, 3 of the 4 ate immediately for me after not feeding for months. And I'm going to show you guys right now how I did that. And I think you're going to find it extremely useful. I know I talked about this before in a past video, guys, with this soap. I use this 7th generation soap. It's odor-free, it's dye-free, it's chemical-free. This is going to save you hours and hours of frustration and possibly losing baby snakes. Just please have this on hand, the 7th generation soap. You can get it anywhere. I get it in shop right by my house. And also get your hands on some 8-ounce cups. These are typically cups that we ship babies in, right? So in the case of these carpets, and what I want to preface it by saying is these are both runners. And if it comes to like baby green tree pythons or baby emerald tree boas or baby Amazon tree boas, they tend to do better with live, throwing them live fuzzies. You'll usually get a better response by throwing them a live fuzzy or a live pinky. And if they're on a perch, that's typically how I get those feeding. But in cases like carpet pythons, diamond pythons, and Teresia, this works so much, a high percentage of the time, and it worked right like a charm with those carpet pythons. So here's what I did. I took fuzzy mice, okay, frozen solid fuzzy mice with those carpets. And all I did was I washed them with this soap. I know I've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating this segment in this video. I washed the frozen fuzzy mice with this 7th generation soap while they're still frozen. I do it underwater and I get a good lather going and I just wash it off. All you're really doing is washing off the scent of the commercially raised rodent. Now I take that fuzzy mouse and I just let it defrost as I normally would, but now it just doesn't have the scent of mouse on it anymore. And then what I do is I take that frozen thawed fuzzy mouse, I put it in the cup, and I put it in the cup with one of the carpets, and then I just put the lid on it and I stick it right in the case, right in the shoebox rack where I'm keeping the carpet pythons. I leave it overnight, and I am telling you right now, I will tell you 75% of the time by doing that, the meal will be gone in the morning. In the case of those carpets, so I got 4 of them in. I told you one had a little bit of an issue. 2 of the 3 feeders ate on the first try, and then when the one didn't eat, I tried that same procedure I just told you guys, but this time using a rat pinky instead of a mouse fuzzy, and that one ate. So all 3 ate within the first week after not eating for several months with the other person. So in any event, I think you guys are going to find this really useful, especially with runners. Those carpets are runners. If I took a live fuzzy mouse from Tongs or even a frozen thawed mouse from Tongs, even if I heated it up really well, they just wanted nothing to do with that. So again, 8-ounce deli cup, this 7th generation hand soap overnight. And again, I just want to mention too, when you put it in your rack overnight, don't put the cup directly on the heat, because if it doesn't eat that fuzzy mouse, you're going to have a bad smell. They tend to almost cook and get really soft. So just don't put it directly on the heat when you use the cup in the rack, okay? But just put it kind of in the middle of the rack, so it's kind of half heat, half off, or half on. But it works like a charm. Please try it, and if you try it, you have success with it, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. For this next segment, we're going to Snake Room 2.0, guys. I installed those perches that I showed you in my last video. They're now installed in the cages, and I also want to show you a snake that's gravid here. We're getting there with this room. You know what? Quick note for everybody out there. So my wife and I measured. We got this TV. It's a 75-inch TV, and then we got it. And my wife thinks it's way too big for the room and looks ridiculous. And she said we should get a 65-inch TV. So what we did, you know, being a married couple, we compromised, and we're getting a 65-inch TV. So I finally got all the cages moved in these rooms. This is all Boaphile stuff, Jeff Ronnie. And what I want to show you guys over here is, can you come in closer, honey? So we got the perches installed all by David Brahms at Specialty Enclosure Designs. These are all 4-foot gray PVC perches made by David. What's really cool, guys, is that I'm doing the entire room. It's going to be about 30 adult cages total, and they're all going to be the same black. With the gray perches, we're getting kind of an Xanthic theme type going. And it's always worth mentioning David Brahms at Specialty Enclosure Designs. Any size perches you want for my baby rack, all different colors. You can make them for anything you want. So I'll put a link, as always, to David's site on the bottom of this video. And what's really exciting is that David didn't even mention this yet, but what he's doing is, you know, for arboreal keepers especially, if you want to keep maybe 1 or 2 baby chondros, you know, whether they're babies or yearlings, David's actually going to be starting a line of racks, baby shoebox racks and yearling racks. But instead of having to buy a big rack when you only have a couple animals, he's going to be doing it for like maybe 6 enclosures on each, maybe even less than that, 4 or 6. But it's going to be plug and play. Each of the enclosures are already going to be pre-fitted with perches, whether you have babies or yearlings. So God, I think that's what we need that in the industry, because nobody's really making that right now. A small rack for baby arboreals already pre-fitted with perches. So I'm really excited that David's going to make that happen. You know what, while we're over here, guys, I want to show you something. This reminded me of something, is that when we breed snakes, you know, you read in books that animals, you know, they start developing follicles, and then females will go off feed, and then they'll, you know, ovulate, and then they'll lay eggs, but they don't always do things the way they're supposed to. And this is a perfect example of that. This is Diamond Jungle Jaguar female. She's in a deep shed right now. She was bred to a reduced pattern diamond male. She's actually a gorgeous animal, but you can't tell that right now. So why am I talking about her? Because she ovulated about a week ago. I clearly saw her ovulate. She was huge. So I know she's gravid. I know I'm getting eggs from her. It doesn't mean I'm getting fertile eggs, but I know I'm getting eggs from her. And I thought she was worth mentioning because even after seeing her ovulate, I was feeding some other animals back here, and I could see she looked like she was interested in food. So I just, for the hell of it, I tried offering her a small rat, and she nailed it instantly. Typically, I'd be really bummed out, because the one thing you never want to see is one of your females eating when they're supposed to be gravid. But I know I saw her ovulate, so I know she's gravid. And again, I know every book will tell you that most females are always going to go off a feed, but this is a perfect example of a girl who's just not doing things by the book. And despite ovulating, she took a meal for me. So again, I'm not bummed because I saw her ovulate. I know I'm going to get eggs. It's just that these animals just, they don't always cooperate. They don't always do what they're supposed to do. While we're on the subject of animals not doing things by the book, I thought it was worth bringing this green tree python out. She's a Manokwari green tree python. This female, she gave me a clutch of like 9 or 10 eggs last year. I'm actually going to breed her again this year. I know some people say don't breed green tree pythons every year, but she gained her weight back. She looks great, so I'm definitely going to breed her again this year. So I brought her out because last year she never had a post-ovulation shed. She ovulated, and then I never saw her shed after that, and she went right from her ovulation to, I forget exactly how long ago, later, a couple months later, she gave me a clutch of eggs. So again, guys, the reason I bring these animals out is because, especially if you're newer and you're starting to breed snakes and you're reading books and you're seeing time frames from animals that are developing follicles to ovulating, to going off feed, to laying eggs, and you see the days and the times in between, and your animals are not doing what they're quote-unquote supposed to, don't panic. Just let the animals do their thing. With her, I wasn't overly concerned. I would have loved to have seen a post-ovulation shed. I never did, but I still got a healthy clutch of eggs from her. So again, just don't panic, and remember that they're all individuals and they will not always do what they're supposed to do. Hey, I know I've spoken about this exact topic before in past videos, but it's worth mentioning again. I'm always on Instagram, I'm on Facebook all the time, and I see the questions that people have, especially for newer keepers, and I really want to make sure people are doing the right things when it comes to baby arboreals. Again, I'm always talking specifically about baby emerald tree boas and baby green tree pythons. I know many of you out there, we love the idea of maybe using like a 10-gallon fish tank with plants and a nice substrate, some kind of cork bark, and it looks really pretty, but I highly advise against that, especially if you're a newer keeper. Keep things super simple, and I promise by doing so, it will increase your chances of having success with your baby. Just have far greater chances of doing that. This is what I use for my babies. It goes in a baby rack, okay? My baby racks are heated underneath from the back. It doesn't matter whether you use back heat or whether you use underneath heat. When you have a baby emerald or a baby green tree python, what you're doing is you're shooting for a temperature of 81 to 83 degrees. As you can see, guys, there is nothing fancy here, okay? This is paper towel substrate. Some people choose to use water with their neonates, so they'll use water on the bottom of their enclosure. That's fine. I don't do that. Why don't I use water? Is because a lot of times they're when you're spreading urates or defecating, which is on a regular basis, you're constantly changing that water like every other day. So I use paper towel instead. And what I do is every morning when I have my neonates in the racks on a perch like this, again, sorry, David Brahms, Specialty Enclosure Designs. I know I should repeat him over and over, but guess what? He's worth repeating. So I usually just keep the babies like this, whether it's a baby emerald or a baby green tree python. Water bowl in the front, and then every morning I spray water directly on that baby. Why do I spray water? Well, it helps keep the humidity up to 60%, which is what we're really shooting for, 60 to 70%. But more importantly, we always hear about prolapsing, and we don't know specifically why prolapsing occurs, but we believe it has something to do with hydration. So by spraying the animal down every morning, a couple quick spurts on top of the animal, it really will greatly decrease your chances of that animal prolapsing. Your baby is now grown out of its enclosure, and now it is a almost yearling. This animal is almost a yearling. That is a mandatory type, class of 2020. I produced this animal here. It's still on sex. It's just starting to go through its onogenic color change. So again, this is a David Brahms perch made for these Cambro box here. I don't know if this is maybe 15 quart, guys, something along those lines. Now, as you can see, I was using paper towel in with the baby, but now as a yearling, I am using water on the bottom, just because they don't spread the urates as much, don't defecate as much as babies do, so it's just less maintenance, and yet it's accomplishing that same goal of 60 to 70% humidity. The animals do really well like this, and I'll keep a baby emerald, or what I should say, a well-started emerald or a well-started chondro in an enclosure like this until it reaches about 18 months, something along those lines. Males you could actually leave a little longer because they stay smaller than the females. Again, so whether it's a baby or a yearling, super simple, guys. It's all about a small enclosure, making the animal feel secure, and it's all about hydration and easy maintenance. And I know it's not sexy. There are no plants and there's no substrate, but I'm just trying to, as always, save you guys from a lot of heartbreak. So if you could just please follow these steps, I think you'll just find that you'll have a lot of luck keeping these animals. I'm not a ball python guy, but I do love them. I know I've showed this girl before. She's a pastel pinto pied. She's been breeding non-stop. She's about 1,800 grams, and I'm going to be really bummed if I don't get babies from her this year. Imagine I'm like trying to breed all this more difficult animals like basins and chondros and savu pythons, and I get those, and I don't get any ball pythons. That would really stink. But they've been locked up non-stop for months. I don't have an ultrasound machine, so I'm not sure how big her follicles are right now, if she has any follicles right now, but I just keep introducing them and separating them, and they just keep locking up every time, so wish me luck on these. She's continued to feed like a horse, so I'll keep feeding her. So next videos, I got some really cool stuff coming up for you guys. We're going to be visiting a couple of our collections now that COVID is starting to subside a little bit. I got my first shot, so I'll have my second shot in a few weeks from now. So the good news is you guys can stop wearing masks when you watch my videos. As always, US Ark, guys, they do so much for us and ask so little from us, so please keep the donations up to US Ark. They need money now more than ever, especially US Ark Florida. And I'm really looking to seeing everybody again in a couple weeks. Who has the best YouTube channel? Me